The Timekeeper's Secret. In the bustling town of Solus, there was a peculiar little shop nestled at the end of a cobblestone street. The shop, called the Timekeeper's Curiosities, was not like any other store in the town. It had a single sign above the door, an old-fashioned clock with hands frozen at 3:15. Inside, the shelves were crammed with all sorts of oddities, vintage watches, antique clocks, and strange devices whose purpose no one seemed to understand. The owner of the shop was an elderly man named Elias. His hair was silver, and his eyes were as sharp as a hawk's, despite his age. He was a quiet man, always wearing a waistcoat and a pocket watch that he checked frequently, though no one ever saw him actually wind it. He was known throughout Solus, though few people truly knew him. His shop had been there for as long as anyone could remember, yet he had no family, no history that anyone could trace. Most townsfolk would wander into the shop out of curiosity, only to be mesmerized by the myriad of clocks ticking and talking in a constant, soothing rhythm. Many would leave with a new pocket watch or an antique timepiece, not questioning how they had been drawn to it. It was as though the shop had a magic of its own, pulling people in, making them feel like they needed something they never knew existed. One rainy evening, a young woman named Isabel wandered into the shop. She had just moved to Solus, and everything in the town seemed unfamiliar. After an exhausting day of settling in, she found herself walking down the cobblestone street, seeking shelter from the rain. That's when she saw the glowing sign of the Timekeeper's Curiosities through the mist. Intrigued, she stepped inside. The bell above the door chimed as she entered, and Elias looked up from behind the counter, his sharp gaze falling on her immediately. He studied her for a moment, then gave her a polite nod. "Welcome," he said, his voice rich and warm. "Is there something I can help you with?" Isabel smiled, unsure of what she was looking for. "I don't know," she admitted. "I just needed to get out of the rain. But this place, it's fascinating." Elias chuckled softly. "Many people are drawn here without knowing why. Time has a way of calling to us." Isabel glanced around at the walls lined with clocks. Each one seemed to have its own rhythm, its own heartbeat. The atmosphere was strange, yet comforting. There was a quiet hum in the air, as though the very fabric of time was alive in that room. "I've never seen anything like this," Isabel said. "Do you sell these?" "These clocks are not for sale. They are a collection, you could say. Each one has its own story." Isabel raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What do you mean?" Elias took a slow step toward one of the old grandfather clocks in the corner of the room. He placed his hand gently on its wooden surface, as if it were a living thing. "These clocks," he began, "are not ordinary. Each one represents a different moment in time. Some mark the happiest days of a person's life, while others tick away the seconds of sorrow. Some hold memories, some hold regrets, but all of them have a purpose. They each reflect a life, a choice, a path taken." Isabel's curiosity deepened. "Are they magical?" Elias smiled faintly. "Magic, perhaps, but not in the way you might think. These clocks are like vessels, carrying the essence of time itself. They store the moments they've witnessed, and when you wind them, they reveal something extraordinary." He walked over to a small table in the center of the room, where an ornate pocket watch sat in a velvet box. "This one," Elias said, "belonged to a woman who made a choice that would change her life forever. She wore it every day, never knowing that time had already chosen her path." Isabel took the pocket watch, its surface cool and smooth beneath her fingers. As she held it, a strange sensation washed over her, as though the watch was pulling her into another world. Her surroundings blurred, and she found herself standing on a bustling street, the sun shining brightly above her. She could see a woman in front of her, walking with a purpose, her face familiar yet distant. Isabel realized with a shock that the woman was her at a younger age. She watched as her younger self passed a street vendor, her attention caught by something on the stall. The moment was fleeting, but Isabel felt it deep in her bones, the weight of the choice she had made years ago, the path she had taken. Suddenly, the vision faded, and Isabel was back in the shop, her heart racing. "I saw something," she whispered. "It was me at a younger age. I saw a choice I made." Elias nodded. "The pocket watch reveals those moments. Choices we make, paths we take, and sometimes paths we almost missed. Time is full of these small, quiet decisions, and sometimes it's these moments that shape us more than we realize. Isabel looked at him, wide-eyed. But why? Why are these clocks here? What do they mean? They are reminders, Elias said softly. Reminders that time is not just a linear thing. It is full of moments, both big and small, and we are all bound by it, even if we don't understand it. The clocks keep track of time, but they also remind us of the fleeting nature of it. They show us that every second is precious, and every choice we make ripples out into the future. Isabel's mind was racing with thoughts. The vision she had seen, the choices she had made, it all felt so vivid, so real. She had never thought of time like this before. She had always taken it for granted, thinking that time was just something to be managed, something to be used. But now, standing in Elias's shop, she understood. And it held more meaning than she had ever realized. Elias smiled as if he had read her thoughts. Time is both a gift and a mystery. It is up to each of us to decide how we use it. Isabel stood in silence, her fingers still gripping the pocket watch. Can I take this with me? Elias's gaze softened. It is not for you to keep, my dear, but you are welcome to visit any time. The clocks are always here, waiting to reveal their stories. As Isabel left the shop, the rain had stopped, and the evening sky was painted in hues of purple and orange. She felt a sense of peace wash over her, as though something had shifted inside her. The shop had opened her eyes to the importance of time, the moments that made up a life, and she would never look at time the same way again.